It didn't used to be like this. This place used to be the economic capital of the West. Then, a conflict broke out, and we were all abandoned. Some of us are still trying to escape. As for the rest, it's a simple game of survival. This is where it all started, where everything changed. This is Ground Zero. It was the first day of the wipe, and upon launching the game, I was greeted with a handful of new tasks to complete on the new map. Now, seeing as it was a brand new map, I was going in completely blind. So the best thing to do was explore and find an extract. So that's exactly what I was going to do, or so I hoped. As I ascended the stairs, I heard something. Footsteps. I'd taken down 2, but due to an untimely reload, I had died to the 3rd. It was an unfortunate first raid, but that was to be expected, seeing as it was my first time on the new map. It's time to gear up for another raid. This next raid is where I began to see the benefit of exploring. I'd spawned right next to the Emercom checkpoint, which I needed for a task from Therapist. This was a good start. After looting the area, I made my way into the Terror Group building. I'd found the rogue scientist, now I needed to locate his office, but not before running into trouble. I quickly killed one, but I could hear a second. It was a duo. Soon after looting both players, I found the scientist hard drive. Everything was going smoothly. All that was left for me to do was extract. This is where I made my gravest mistake. I had just gotten the ball rolling with those 2 PMC kills, but these next couple steps would change that for the worse. In my pursuit of an extract, I unknowingly ran straight out of bounds and fell helpless to the invisible sniper scavs protecting the map border, and lost all my quest progress. After this unfortunate death, I died again. And again. I eventually tried doing a scav run, but even that was fruitless. I was still winning fights, but it seemed like there was no escape from this losing streak. As many would say, I was getting Tarkov hard. Eventually, I spent a raid slowly looting underground, taking my time, and managed to finally extract for the first time this wipe. But this small win was still unable to pull me out of my losing streak. It was kind of inevitable. Eventually, I had gone broke. I needed a break from Ground Zero to get back on my feet, so what better place to go than one of my favorite maps for loot runs? Woods. You see, on the surface, Woods only has a handful of notable points of interest, but you can get rich in this forest if you know where to look. My first run was nothing special. I only had a handful of items and some armor I needed for a quest. It wasn't much, but I needed small wins like this. On my second loot run, I found some valuable attachments, and my inventory was already full. I didn't have a backpack or rig to carry any items, but that was about to change. Early into the raid, a scav approached me with a gift. He not only had a rig and a backpack, but one of the biggest backpacks in the game. This was a game changer. My plan from here was simple: loot and extract. My goal was the same for this third run: loot and extract, and yet again, I was successful. At the end of the raid, I extracted with another bag full of loot, as well as tier 5 armor. Eventually, my luck came to an end. I was hunted down by a player at the start of the raid. Even though I'd lost the bag, it had served me well. I had tons of valuable items to sell, and several items I needed to develop my hideout. With my replenished finances, it was time for me to return to Ground Zero. I spawned next to the Emercom checkpoint, and was very quickly met by a duo. I got a few shots off, but to no avail. There was a player prone right in front of me, and his teammate was further back. Pushing them now would be a death sentence. I needed them to make a move. After a minute or so, they finally pushed. The close player began to advance slowly while the teammate made noise as he flanked. Those had been clean kills. These two had also been doing a pistol run. Even so, their gear was a more than welcome addition to my growing collection. Now, I just needed to survive. I bumped into another player a little later, but after a tactical retreat, I avoided the conflict and located my extract. With the growing number of small wins under my belt, I was finally starting to get the ball rolling. It was about time I tried to complete the saving the mole task that I had failed earlier when I ran out of bounds. The raid began with a great spawn, one of the closest to my objective. I first needed to relocate the scientist and get the key to the office. After I had the key, I took my time looting the area and was admittedly paranoid listening for other players. Eventually, I made my way into the office and found the drive. This was good progress, but I wasn't out of it yet. I still had to survive. Luckily, this time I knew where the extraction point was. No more running out of bounds for me. I was terrified the whole way to extraction, but I finally made it and completed the quest. Ground Zero proved to be a challenge. The heart, an unfamiliar metropolis, fell to ruin. The beginning, the place where it had all started. It truly was Ground Zero, not just for the greater Tarkov conflict, but for my own adventure as well, and those of countless other players, old and new, present and future.